ready.
Oh, yeah, yes. Well, good evening. It is November 20th. Welcome to the Finance Committee. We'll go ahead and start with a roll call, please.
Mayor St. John,
Here.
Mr. Ayers, here, Mr. Grumney,
Here.
Mr. Martin,
Here.
Mrs. Cooper, here. Mr. Neff is absent and Mr. Capel is not here at the moment.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. We have some minutes from our October the 16th meeting. Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Ayers. Yes. 5 yeas, motion minutes passed.
Thank you, Amber. As we move into new and unfinished business, we have, it looks like our fourth review in first reading tonight for the 2025 draft budget.
Yes. Yes, in starting with page 5 of your packet, we have the consolidated budget overview, and this will list all of the funds with their expected balance as of December 31st, 2024, and the anticipated revenues and appropriations for 2025. And we have seen drafts of the budget, as you all have seen so far, and this is the final, any tweaks or changes that may come. I will definitely make sure that you are all aware of them if there are any. But there's been some just very, very minor changes since the drafts that you've already seen. So as you can see in the general fund, we are anticipating revenues of 8.9 million and we have appropriations of 8.6 million, leaving us with a projected fund balance at the end of 2025 of 7.1 million. And our other larger fund is the capital improvements fund down in 701. As you can see, we have anticipated revenues 4.7 million. Some of that is transfers from the general fund to fund various capital purchases with appropriations of 4.1 million, leaving us a balance of a little over $1 million at the end of 2025.
So, I'm sorry, I know you have probably covered this. I just don't recall. So the starting balance in 2020, at the end of 2023, so beginning 2024 was 5.4, and this time around it's going to be 1. So what's the reason for the huge gap of beginning or the ending of, what am I trying to say? I guess the beginning of 2024 and the beginning of 2025 under the capital projects.
Capital improvements.
Yeah.
So the majority of the spending there is the facilities project.
Okay.
So about a little over 3 million, well, 3.5 million roughly for the police and the admin building.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. In the sewer fund, we did have some appropriations and revenues expected in 2024 that did not get realized. The wastewater treatment plant specifically. So those have been carried forward into the 2025 budget. So you'll see those numbers in that section as well. So that's what's driving that 15 million and the 21 million. Of course, as you know, we don't have everything nailed down for the wastewater treatment plant as far as funding. We're still working on that. So this could change in the future before the final read. Other than that, not much has changed. As you can see, I've appropriated certain amounts of money for the impact fees. We have some capital projects for the cemetery and parks. We have COVID money that is projected to be spent completely in 2025. Aside from that, I don't have anything else necessarily to bring to your attention, but I'm happy to answer questions. I'm happy to go through the revenues. I'm happy to go through the appropriations. I will leave it to you if you have questions.
Any questions from Ms. Stefan on the 2025 draft budget review?
Just one, I know we're going to talk about this next, the wage ordinance and positions. Has that been incorporated into the budget that we're looking at?
For the most part, yes. However, with some wage scales that we may adjust, some mins and maxes that may go into play. Those are all to be determined if council would approve those. I may have to go through this and adjust slightly, but for the most part, all of those are included in here. For example, positions that we've budgeted for have all been, that are on the wage ordinance, are all included in this.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yes.
Are you not allowed to have things end in zero? Because you have two items on here that end with $1, and I'm just curious about that.
No, that's just the way it laid out.
Okay.
No, what I can't have is a negative balance in a fund.
Right. I understand that. I just didn't know if there was something that in order to keep a category open, you had to have
Oh.
$1 in it or something.
You're thinking of Costco, like their sales tags, when it ends in 7, it's like a last clearance item. Looking for the cryptography.
Just curious.
Okay, well, I think, Ms. Devon, thank you very much for the review, the overview. And so as you say, this will be the last draft overview before we start the readings, correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
technically this is what's on the agenda for tonight. So the
Okay.
fact that it is titled a draft in your agenda isn't necessarily accurate.
Okay. And will this require the full 3 readings or, yeah, okay.
Did we name our ordinance something different this year? I feel like it's got a little bit of a title change. Like, didn't it used to say like approving the budget or approving the appropriations?
In looking at last year's budget, I believe I kept the same language.
Okay, interesting.
Mhm.
That's my oversight. Thank you.
Okay, well then, Ms. Devon, I'm assuming you're on for the, or is that Daryl, is this you for wage?
I am gonna take this one.
Okay,
All right, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the mayor alluded, we do have in front of you for the first time the wage ordinance, wage and salary structure ordinance for the city of Sunbury. So we're not proposing that this be considered for reading this evening at council. I want to just make sure you understand what's being proposed. So just as a little bit of background, you may remember that in last year, we removed the wage references from the chapter 139 of the codified ordinances, but agreed that we would bring a wage ordinance each year as part of the budgeting process to you. And that's what this is. There is a direct relationship between what you see in this document and what is on the budget, as Ms. Stefan indicated. So the number of positions that are referenced on the left-hand side, those are all budgeted currently in the budget, or at least the draft budget that you see in front of you. And as Ms. Stefan indicated, we do have a max and a min here. Not every position goes up to the maximum. That's just the maximum for the range. And there have been some slight adjustments to the max and a little bit to the minimums, but mostly to the maximum side. So it's conceivable that if we did bump to the maximum side, it would exceed what's in the budget, but that's not that's not the plan. This is just reflecting what the range looks like. I will add that most of the adjustments on the wages were done in a manner that is consistent with the collective bargaining agreement. So this year's wage adjustment is, I think, 2% in the collective bargaining agreement. So most of the maximums went up just by 2%. Now, having said that, we've allotted for a slightly different number in the budget. I think we've accounted for a 5% adjustment. Not everybody will receive at that level. But I think even if they did receive at that level, I don't think we stretch the max in any particular position.
is that
That's-
performance-based, Daryl, in the 5% when you say, okay?
Yes, yep. And then if there is a 0 in the position category, so like under the first block there on page 13, there's a block in there for an economic development manager or a 0. There's a 0 in there for an operations/administrative services manager. These positions are not in the budget. They're not contemplated to be filled this year. But part of what we've been trying to show for you is kind of where we think the next positions, what the next positions might look like for the city. So again, they're a little bit up for debate as to whether or not that actually happens. They could be somewhat flexible over time. So just walking then down through the document a little bit more in terms of the positions and the position titles. What we have done is we've adjusted the title of the zoning officer, added a senior planner position to that. The zoning officer is kind of a carryover from the old ordinance. Alex serves in this role today. There are duties associated with being a zoning officer, so we have to have that position and that title, but he also does planning related work as well. So we're just trying to reflect that. We have added the intern to the list, or an intern to the list. We've definitely had 2 summer interns over the last couple of years. We've got at the moment a temporary planning intern as well. So just trying to build this into the budget as well. Under the police department, a significant change here is we have changed the deputy police chief from an hourly wage to a salary position, and have discussed that with the chief and the deputy chief. So I think we're landing there. I'm waiting for one piece of information back from them, but for the most part, it appears that will be the recommendation that you'll see next in 2 weeks when we take it to council. The positions that are listed there right now reflect, again, what's in the budget. I do think we have at the moment 8 police officers, but there have been budgeted for 9. So we do have a vacancy there. We had adjusted the sergeants last year to reflect 3. We now do have all 3. We've got 2 of the police, or 2 school resource officers now. The police analyst position, this one was on the budget last year. It's an open position in the police department. There is funding in the budget for an analyst position. So that's an important, I think, note to make as well. But again, it's a vacancy, and not sure if the chief intends to fill that position or not.
Can you tell me what a police analyst is?
Yeah.
An analyst.
Somebody analyzes the police.
Yeah.
Well, I don't, do you know if the chief, has he given you any more detail? I mean,
He has given me some vague details. It's been about a year since we've discussed this position, but from what I understand, the analyst would be doing, but helping detectives, analyzing things. Yeah, I don't really have any more information.
So, I mean, think of like data that we gather, or, we have GPS on cars, and, we know where crime is occurring, and being able to direct resources based on the data that we have. Dana mentioned the other one is to aid in investigations. I know we had 2 significant investigations that went to jury trials this year, and the majority of the legwork that's occurring is the detectives themselves. When you think of the detectives, you think like going out and talking to people and interviewing people and trying to work with prosecutors, whereas the analyst would be a person that would be doing a lot of the preparatory work.
And also, if I remember right, it had something to do with helping the officers figure out what to charge somebody with if there was an incident and they didn't know exactly. I thought the analyst was one of the people that helped them figure out where to go with that. I could be making that up, but
Sounds good, David.
you can confirm that. We will confirm that. On the next page, under the services department, you'll see there is a 0 next to the services superintendent. Jake fills the services supervisor position. He came in as a supervisor, so there's no change here necessarily. We've held the services superintendent position on there as we think about stormwater management and stormwater utility and additional duties that could roll to this position. There was some thought, again, keep this position in play, but again, no anticipated filling of that position. We do have the maintenance crew worker 3, or the maintenance worker 3, the crew leader. So what we have, though, been able to do is kind of get a little bit more structure into the service department to have a little bit more field supervision to support Jake in his efforts there. Mick fills this role at the moment, and so we're just trying to clarify that duty there. And then the overall number, I forgot to change one of these. The seasonal should be 2. I did not save that. Sorry about that. But the overall positions reflect, 5, 6, 7 positions. We don't have 7 positions filled at this point, but we've been budgeting consistently for that. And again, we'll correct the maintenance worker seasonal. That's 2 positions. And then under the wastewater plant, as you know, we've got 3 people at the moment, but we've budgeted for 5 positions as we've tried to fill in some of these vacancies here. Probably the biggest distinction you'll see here is that operator class 1 and 2 treatment, and then collection specialist class 1 and 2. I think we've tried to just kind of be a little bit more clear about the distinction between a treatment position and a collections position. And the reason for that is that it means something at the Ohio EPA. It also means something with respect to certifications. And so it was important to Dale that we make that adjustment as well. So
How badly needed is the backup operator? That'd be relief for
Yeah.
Dale essentially, right?
yeah, I mean, it really is important. It definitely is. an
So are we
important
not
position, but-
looking to fill that?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a difficult position to fill.
Because it
Um,
requires a certification, right?
Yeah. And
Level
for,
2.
I
or
think, yeah,
N3,
you have to
yeah.
have a class 2 certification in order to be the backup.
Hmm.
And we have a class 3 plant. I did confirm with Dale that increasing the size of the plant doesn't change our classification. What Dale would say to me about this is he says, we're working on it. At one of our 2 class 1s to the class 2 level. I mean, they're doing the research and the work and the study, but again, some of it's time and service in addition to the test itself. So I guess at this point, what we're trying to do is build that capacity internally. We've got some really strong employees over there. I mean, Dale is obviously, Dale does what Dale does, but when he's not there, he does have one of his operators, at the plant and he is always readily available. And that's part of actually meeting the test as well. If you can get to the plant within a certain period of time, it still counts as covered under the operator 3 category.
So I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Okay, so is this hard to hire for because there's no people available or because we can't afford them?
Yeah, because there are no people available.
Okay.
Now
So it's a hard skill set to
It's
find.
a hard skill set.
Okay.
That's a good way to say it. Now, I can also say that we have not aggressively been looking for a class 2 operator because we've been trying to, again, build that capacity internally.
Okay.
And we're closer. We're closer than we've been for a couple of years, but we're not there yet.
I hate the idea of hinging the entire operation on one person
Mhm.
because things can happen. Yeah.
Well, my understanding is that when that has happened in the past, that CT Consultants, I think, has been able to assist us in the past
Mhm.
by finding
I think I did hear
yeah,
that. Yeah.
sort of a contract operator to fill in when there's a gap. So there's a strategy around that if we did or if we end up with a gap. And I'm not saying that CT is the only one who could do that, but I think historically they've been the ones who have done that.
When the plant expansion happens, is that gonna create a cause for more employees also?
Oh, we definitely think so. I mean, the plant's going to take a couple of years for it to
Yeah.
get fully built out.
Okay.
but- And yeah.
Should we post those positions now?
We probably.
Okay, just saying.
Put them on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Well, LinkedIn, there you go. I had mentioned this to the mayor and have on a high level mentioned this to Jake as well. May consider trying to do a little bit more cross training with our service team to help support the plant and see if we can't build capacity that way as well. It also, perhaps could be a path to advancement for some if
Mhm.
that's the path that they want to follow. I mean, that's not perfect. I don't want to suggest.
No, it's a good idea. Yeah.
So, Daryl, just a quick question about personnel then. So do we do any type of, do we sit down and ask current staff what are their plans and goals career wise and see? Because the one, you don't want to sit there and assume that somebody might be interested and then 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, it's like, no, I'm not really in. So do we have like I guess what I would say a development plan for those individuals that express interest and say, okay, you should probably be going to this training. You should be doing this, you should be getting yourself prepared to this, and kind of helping identify staff that would fit the role and be interested and then coaching them up for that role.
Yeah, we definitely, in last year, we implemented more structure in our performance review, our annual performance review
Mhm.
process. And so that is a part of the discussion now.
Yeah.
And it gets reflected, I guess, in the performance review, not as a separate development plan per
Yeah,
se, but as
yeah.
part of the performance plan.
So we have something called an individual development plan, and basically it's a document that you use to create your career goals. And you work that out with your supervisor, and you're basically responsible for that document with assistance with your supervisor to obtain these milestones. And it could be a 6-month plan, it could be a 6-year plan, just depending on what you're looking to achieve. And in that way, a written document provides a little bit more accountability on staff and supervisor to achieving those things by, agreed upon date. And it's not a make or break document. It's your document. You created it, but it's to get you where you want to be and your supervisor to be able to kind of hold you to that in a positive way to say, hey, come on, we need to work on X because we said we were going to work on X. Let's do that.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, I'm going
Just
to
a
ask,
thought.
I'll ask Caitlin to help me kind of advance that.
Okay. All right.
Yep. So that's basically what I had to say, unless there are questions or comments or thoughts beyond.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Well, thank you, Daryl.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. So then I think that moves us on to budgeting software comparisons.
Yes, I will take this one. A few weeks ago, I had given Finance Committee a little presentation on ClearGov for their budgeting and forecasting software. And since then, I've done some price comparisons. I've looked around at other offerings for software, similar software by other companies, and wasn't able to find very many, but I did find that OpenGov does offer budgeting and forecasting software. And Civica CMI, who is our current software provider that we use our finance software and our payroll and our utility billing, is going to be coming up with some budgeting and forecasting software in 2025. So to refresh your memory on the ClearGov, we have a one-time setup fee of $4,680 and an annual subscription of $11,000. And that would include an operations budget, personnel budgeting, capital budgeting, and a digital budget book, which is a PDF or presentation that we could present our budget to the public. It's a very good price comparatively. In OpenGov, they have an annual subscription of roughly $27,000 with a one-time setup fee of roughly $30,000 to implement.
And do you get anything different or better than you do from ClearGov for that price? I don't know if you're able to find that out or not.
With OpenGov, I did not have time to get a demo on their budgeting software, but I can certainly do that just to compare what ClearGov offers versus OpenGov. And I do plan to do that just for knowledge. So
Okay.
I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
Civica CMI, so they, as I mentioned previously, they are going to have a new cloud-based software coming in March of next year. And this software would include finance, which we currently do purchase through them, also fixed assets and budgeting. And in order to get on their cloud-based system for their finance and fixed assets and budgeting, there would be a one-time setup of roughly $27,000 with an annual subscription of $13,000. Now, I will mention that the annual fee, that $13,000 subscription, would replace what we're currently paying, which is roughly $7,000 for the licensing, updates, backup of the data, and the customer service or support. So it's really an increase of about $6,000 a year. And to get on the cloud-based software, I think would be a real advantage to the city. Currently, we have a server-based software, so we have to have the data on our server. And as you know, that would be subject to all types of risk that servers are currently subject to. With the cloud base, you eliminate some of that, and you can access it virtually anywhere that you have an internet connection. They don't have a demo. Civica CMI does not have a demo of their forecasting and budgeting software yet. They're still in the process of building it, but I do plan to get that demo. I like the idea of sticking with a company that we are currently working with, Civica CMI, so that the data integration could be, a little bit easier than as opposed to going to a completely different company where all the data would need to be migrated into their system.
So is Civica the only cloud-based one out of the three then?
ClearGov is also cloud-based, and I
Okay.
believe OpenGov is
Are also,
cloud-based.
okay.
Yes.
And then was that 27,000 one-time setup fee, was that quoted as a non-customer, just what it would be if you're just coming in as a brand new customer?
I don't think so. That's since we are currently a customer.
I wonder if there's any wiggle room with that because we're a current. And would the setup be as involved since we're already on there?
Right.
System.
I could ask. I mean, the gentleman I spoke with, he's familiar with us. I've spoke with him before, so he is fully aware that we are a customer and have been a good customer for many years, so.
I just be curious, I guess, I mean, the subscription price is right in line with the ClearGov.
Mhm.
But obviously the one-time setup, there's a stark difference between the two, and I'm just curious, how much harder is it to set up Civica than it is ClearGov? As far as a $23,000 difference, and I'm wondering if Civica wouldn't respond to that saying, yeah, we need to bring that down a bit.
Yeah, I could certainly
Yeah.
ask. Now, with Civica, you're also getting the finance tool that we currently have, but it would be a different cloud-based software and the fixed assets. And as you know, with having our GAAP accounting, which is going to be implemented in 2025, we have to account for all of our fixed assets. So that's definitely something that we will need in the future, in the very near future. So at this point, my recommendation is to wait and see what the Civica CMI software offers to see if that's something that is palatable for us and if we like the way that they're doing it. And then I can bring that back to you whenever that demo is ready, and we can go from there. If that sounds like a good plan, I can do
One
that.
explanation that would be helpful, that before we ever vote on this, since these people, including me, are all elected by the citizens of Sunbury, to be able to explain why we want to spend $57,000 rather than $15,680 for something. It would be nice to understand that a little better. So
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. Mhm. Yes, and with this new information with the Civica, I didn't know that before today, that they were having this new cloud-based software.
Okay.
So I will definitely bring some more information to the table to the finance committee before asking for any type of action.
Okay. Thank you.
More secure than the others?
Do you mean cloud-based versus server, or do you mean just these different companies?
Just the three different companies, are they all pretty secure?
I would have to do some research to see how secure each company is. I'm sure if I asked each company individually, they say that they are very secure.
Yeah.
Fine.
So, I would have to do some research.
To be fair, it does make the hairs on the back of my neck stand up a little bit when new software, not been used yet. Let's try it. A demo will make,
For the pilot.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the demo will give us more.
Option 1 and 3, I mean, after 4 years, Civica pays for itself and a reduction in annual subscription.
So one other clarification. So for the ClearGov and OpenGov, does that not include the fixed asset piece?
That's correct, does not.
So we really need like capability matrix to just says like, this is what this one does, this is what this one does, this is what this one does, and then, hey, we already have existing relationships with OpenGov and Civica, right? Like,
Yes,
yeah, and ClearGov, we don't. So I mean, there's got to be like a rank 1, 2, 3, and then staff recommendation with
Mhm.
cost being
Yeah.
layered in there as well.
yeah, I can put that together.
Sounds good.
But that's all. I just wanted to present what I had found so far. Again, not asking for any action.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Yes.
Okay, if there's no more questions on that, we'll move on to the three regular suspects, starting with the quarterly investment review.
Yes, every quarter, in accordance with our investment policy, we have to go through the investments. And just briefly, I'll explain. We had about 3.2 million at First Commonwealth Bank, 6.9 million at Star Ohio, and 10.4 million at Fifth Third Securities. And this is all as of October 31st. For Fifth Third Securities, this is the majority of our money. It is current book yield at an average of 4.65%, which is really good. Let's see. So we have in the pie chart down there at the bottom of your page, the laddered investments consist of 33% of FDIC insured CDs, and the rest of it is government agency bonds, all carrying the backing of the US Treasury. So very safe. So that's the breakdown of our investments. Economic update on the next page, page 18. As you all probably know, the Federal Reserve has started to cut rates, and it is currently, they've cut rates, let's see, 25 basis points, and potentially they could lower the rates a little bit more. Of course, we don't know what the Fed is going to do. The general consensus is that it will be, the terminal rate will end around 3.6 by 2026. So we're currently sitting around 4.5%, 5% right now. So the consensus, they believe that it'll go down to about 3.6%. So what does that mean for us as far as our investments? Just making sure that we are appropriately invested on our longer term assets, that we can capitalize on those higher interest rates and make sure that we're getting the biggest bang for our dollar. Yeah. I do expect Star Ohio to start decreasing their rates as well. They were as high as 5.8 a few months ago, and now it's about 5. I think, what did I do? 5.04. Yeah, just a little over 5% right now. So they are trending downward. And then on the next couple pages, this is our portfolio statement for Fifth Third Securities. A lot of the same information that was in the page that I just went through, but this will also show you all of the types of holdings that we have, bonds versus CDs, mutual funds, and all of the different, the costs, the market values, and the settlement date when we expect to cash those in. So that's all listed there for your information. And that is my quarterly investment review.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Steffen. Any questions regarding the quarterly investment review?
The MM fund, that is,
Money market.
Okay, I think we march on then to the year-to-date comparison reports.
All right, starting with revenue on page 25 of your packet. We are 10 out of 12 months through the year as of the date this was prepared, and general fund is already exceeding our estimated revenues for the year. So as you can see at the bottom of page 25, we've collected 6.75 million and we've estimated 6.6 million. So with 2 months left to go in the year, we're doing pretty well in the general fund. This is all just revenues first. We'll get to expenses in a moment. As far as the other funds go, impact fees, we've continued to see lots of good collections there with new homes being built. We're collecting those impact fees. So those accounts and funds are looking very healthy. We've also seen an uptick in our drug task force revenue. We receive quarterly amounts from the county to go to the drug task force for money that can be spent on outfitting and ammunition and weapons and things for the drug task force unit, which we do plan to utilize. As far as revenues, nothing other major to call to your attention. Everything is looking healthy. And then in the expenses, which start on page 28 of your packet, there are only a few highlighted items, which means that the highlighted items mean they were variance from budget by more than 10%. So we have some admin and travel in the admin, some benefits and travel and capital in the admin. Nothing major to report here, just some extra spending and a little bit ahead of where we felt we should be, but nothing too crazy. On page 29, we have contractual services for mayor's court. That's pretty high. We've almost spent all of that budget. In the land and buildings, we've spent a lot of that money on the Big Walnut Intermediate Trail, which is driving those yellows. The auditor and treasurer fees we've spent completely, which is why that is in yellow. And moving along, and the street fund, just a couple yellows in there, just fully spent for the capital costs for the 2024 street project. That's all been paid.
So Dan, a quick question on that then. So when it's yellow and we're close or at the percentage spent, does that mean we're done, or does that mean probably come the end of December, we're gonna see some red because there's stuff still out there?
It depends. You would never see any red. I would have to submit a request to council in order to approve extra money to be spent.
Okay.
So it would never go into the
Okay.
negative there. But you do see a red number there, but that's only because it's almost at 900%, but we're still within budget, but
Okay.
we're just trending high. That's what the red means.
And that trend though, so if we exhaust that, then we're done
Yes.
until the new budget cycle.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Unless council would
Would approve
approve.
an exception or whatever. I got you. Okay, thank you.
Exactly. Going through the other funds, there's not much to discuss there. Down on, back to page 32, which is the last page of the expense report. The two yellows at the top there are for the sewer debt, which we're paying to Ohio Water Development Authority. We've paid those 2 semi-annual loan payments in January and July, so those are fully paid. So we will not be spending any more money from those lines. And in the capital projects fund, capital outlay for land and buildings is in yellow, as is the capital outlay for the street project. Those are both facilities and the park improvements for the dam and the park safety, dam safety and park improvements. Sorry.
That damn safety. Right.
Yes, but nothing much to mention on here. As we go through these reports throughout the year, you probably have noticed that whenever something gets to be yellow, you'll notice there's going to be an appropriation increase, most likely coming to council. So it's a good indicator. You can kind of see where we're looking, where we're spending our money, and where we might need to request more.
Okay. All right. Any follow-up or any conversation on the comparison reports? All right, we're hitting the home stretch here then. Looks like we're at the bank to book reconciliation and check register.
Yes. Oh,
We
and I
could read
see.
each check number.
Yeah, please. Please, in detail.
We could go to our auditor and say we had a council member read each check number. Well,
Do we vote on
Yes,
each one?
the check. Complete checklist is there starting on page 34 of your packet. And just to refresh your memory, this is every check, not just checks, but also ACH payments that are made. This is every payment that goes out during the month. So you have access as council members to see, and the public have access to see everything that we've spent money on here. So full transparency, it's all there. And then as far as the bank to book reconciliation, that's on the back page of your agenda. I've reconciled everything and can provide details upon request. We've only had a variance of $2,659.83, which again has been completely identified. So
That's not necessarily always easy to do, so thank you for that.
Yep, no problem. And then the year-to-date income tax collections on the front page of your agenda. every category is increasing. So from year to year, every category has gone up. With a small exception in individuals. Back in 21, 20 went down a little bit. But nothing major. All of the net changes have shown almost double-digit increases year over year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions on the final topic? All right, as always, Ms. Stebbin, thank you very much for your thoroughness on this. Very much appreciated. So that takes us to the end of the show. I guess I'll just see if there's any other comments or questions that we want to cover before we adjourn. Okay, all right, just looking for a motion then to end the meeting.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mayor St. John,
Second?
second by Mr. Air. Roll call, please.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Air,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Martin,
Yes.
we are adjourned.
Thank you.